All right, so jumping right in, we've got this article that a bunch of you have sent our way.
Oh, yeah, this one's been making the rounds.
It's Elon Musk's final masterpiece, X9840.
Catchy title, right?
Definitely grabs your attention.
And Al Toucher doesn't hold back.
No, he does not. This is James L. Toucher, by the way, in case anyone's not familiar.
Published back in April of this year, 2024.
So we're diving into this to figure out if there's anything to this whole X9840 thing,
Right.
and whether this so-called revolution in money is really on the horizon.
Well, Al Toucher lays out his case pretty clearly right off the bat. He starts by pointing to Musk's track record.
Right? PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla,
Exactly. All about disruption.
disrupting industries left and right.
So his question is basically, if Musk can revolutionize payments, space travel, electric cars, why not the entire financial system?
Okay. I mean, on the surface, it sounds intriguing.
It does.
But I gotta say, I've seen my fair share of tech hype cycles.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'm a little skeptical. Is this pattern of disruption something we can really rely on?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, Musk is clearly a brilliant entrepreneur,
No argument there.
but not every disruptive idea turns into a success story.
We've seen plenty of ambitious projects crash and burn.
Exactly. So the key here is figuring out what made those past ventures work and whether those same factors are in play with this whole X9840 thing.
All right, so let's get down to brass tacks. What exactly is this X9840 Al Toucher keeps talking about?
Basically, he's predicting that X, formerly Twitter,
Right.
will become this all-in-one financial hub.
Like everything?
Pretty much. He's talking about replacing traditional bank accounts, making X the central platform for managing your entire financial life.
Wow, that's a pretty bold vision.
It is, and Al Toucher ties it back to Musk's roots.
How so?
Well, he brings up this bank Musk founded way back in 1999 called X.com.
I vaguely remember hearing about that.
It had this charter number 9840, so hence X9840.
Ah, I see the connection. So it's not just like basic banking then.
No, Al Toucher throws in all the latest buzzwords too. AI, blockchain, you name it.
He's really deep into the AI world himself, so I'm curious how he sees those technologies fitting into all of this.
He paints this picture of X seamlessly integrating AI and blockchain to create this hyper-efficient, personalized financial experience.
Like what? Give me an example.
Imagine an AI-powered financial advisor
Okay.
that manages your investments, optimizes your spending, maybe even anticipates your financial needs, all powered by the security and transparency of blockchain technology.
All right, but what about some hard evidence?
Well, Al Toucher does mention some big names who've invested in X.
Like who?
Larry Ellison, for one.
Right.
And venture capital firms like Sequoia Capital.
Okay, those are some serious players.
He also points to X obtaining money transfer licenses in multiple states.
Right, I read about that.
And then, of course, there are Musk's own statements about X becoming the place where all the money is.
Yeah, he's not exactly known for being subtle.
No, he is not. So the question is all of this enough to suggest that X9840 is more than just wishful thinking?
I mean, securing those licenses, attracting that level of investment, that's got to mean something, right?
It definitely points to a serious commitment to the fintech space.
Fintech, meaning financial technology, for anyone who's not up on the lingo.
Right. But here's the thing. We got to remember that Al Toucher is in the business of selling his investment newsletter. There's a clear incentive to generate excitement, maybe even a little FOMO, to drive subscriptions.
So should we be taking all of this with a grain of salt?
Absolutely. I think it's crucial to separate the concrete developments from the speculation. Musk is clearly making moves in the fintech world.
No doubt.
But the scope and the timeline of this whole X9840 vision are still very much up in the air. It seems like Al Toucher's really fixated on this idea that X9840 could be the death knell for traditional banks.
Yeah, he paints this pretty dramatic picture, claiming that nobody will need a bank account in the future.
Right. It's like he's envisioning this world where we completely leapfrog over the current financial system.
We can just skip a whole step.
Exactly. And to be fair, he's not just making this up out of thin air.
No, he's connecting it back to all the technological advancements he's been talking about.
Right. If X really does become this one-stop shop for everything financial, seamlessly integrating AI and blockchain?
Then it's not totally crazy to think that traditional banking models could be in serious trouble.
Exactly. He uses this term creative destruction.
I've heard him talk about that before.
He points to examples like Netflix and Blockbuster or Amazon versus, traditional retail.
So it's like he's saying this is just the natural order of things. The old guard gets disrupted, and the ones who adapt survive.
Exactly. And he's got a point. I mean, technological innovation has this long history of shaking up established industries.
Sure.
The question is whether the financial sector is really ready for this level of upheaval.
Well, Altucher seems to think so.
He does.
He argues that our current fiat currency system is inherently unstable.
Right. He points to things like mounting national debt inflation.
In what he calls de-dollarization.
Which, just to clarify for our listeners, refers to the trend of countries reducing their reliance on the U.S. dollar for trade and reserves.
Thanks for explaining that.
No problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, Altucher's been sounding the alarm on these issues for over a decade.
Has he really?
Oh, yeah. And while predicting a complete collapse of the dollar might be a bit extreme,
Probably a bit much.
the underlying economic anxieties he's tapping into are definitely real.
I think a lot of people are feeling that.
Right. And this is where his argument about Musk really comes into play.
Okay, how so?
Well, he presents Musk as this, visionary leader who's building a system that bypasses these supposedly flawed financial structures.
Like he's creating an alternative.
Exactly. He even mentions that Musk himself has called fiat currency a scam and predicted the end of paper money.
I think I remember reading that.
It's clear that Altucher really buys into this narrative.
He does seem pretty convinced.
He even weaves in his own personal story about losing his life savings.
Oh, wow.
He frames it as a way to empower everyday people to take control of their financial futures.
It's a powerful story. I'll give him that.
It is. It definitely adds this emotional layer to his argument.
Sure. But let's get back to the specifics of X9840 for a minute.
Okay.
Altucher claims that X has already secured licenses to facilitate money transfers in 23 states, and that Elon could flip the switch at any moment.
He even says potentially within the next 24 hours.
Like it's imminent.
Right. But while it's true that X has been actively obtaining these licenses,
They have.
and Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, has said that they're moving fast with payments being around the corner,
I read that interview too.
translating that into a fully functional financial ecosystem that can actually compete with traditional banking is a massive leap.
It's a big jump for sure.
Altucher doesn't stop there, though.
Of course not.
He dives into the technologies he believes will be the foundation of X9840's success, specifically AI and blockchain.
All right, let's unpack that.
So this is where things get really interesting. Altucher has this deep history with AI.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it goes back to his time at Cornell and his work on IBM's Deep Blue.
Wow.
He argues that the most significant AI advancements will come from its integration with digital payments.
That makes sense.
And he highlights X's development of its own AI system.
They have their own AI now.
That's what he says, designed to act as a personalized financial assistant.
Okay, so paint me a picture here. What would that actually look like?
So imagine you open up X,
Okay.
and instead of just seeing tweets, you have this AI-powered advisor
Right there in the app.
that helps you manage your budget, track your investments, even make smarter spending decisions.
It's like having a personal finance guru in your pocket.
Precisely. It's a pretty compelling vision,
It is.
though it remains to be seen how well they can actually pull it off in practice.
Right, there are always challenges with implementation.
And then there's the whole blockchain angle.
Of course, Altucher's a big crypto guy.
Oh yeah, he's been a vocal supporter of cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin,
Right.
and he sees them as a core component of X9840.
So Bitcoin's not going away anytime soon, according to Altucher.
Not at all. He even predicts that this will usher in a massive bull market,
Another one.
potentially the biggest we've ever seen.
He's not afraid to make bold predictions.
Nope. And his track record with Bitcoin predictions is actually pretty noteworthy.
Yeah.
Back in 2013, when a lot of people were dismissing Bitcoin as a fad,
Right.
he was already predicting its rise.
Oh, interesting.
And this time, he's not just talking about Bitcoin. He's
Right.
put together this list of what he considers the top 10 cryptocurrencies poised for explosive growth.
All right, so we've got AI, blockchain, a potential US dollar collapse, and a whole lot of hype.
That about sums it up.
But what about some concrete investment recommendations? Does Altucher actually give us any names?
He does mention 5 companies that he thinks stand to benefit from X9840,
Okay,
although he doesn't get into specifics in this particular article.
so he's being a little vague.
He focuses more on their roles in the ecosystem,
Uh-huh.
highlighting companies involved in e-commerce, AI development, fintech, that kind of thing.
So he's trying to build a portfolio that aligns with his overall vision of the future.
Exactly. And he even throws in a bonus pick.
A bonus pick.
A company he calls the AI crown jewel.
What's that?
He claims it's even more promising than NVIDIA.
Wow. That's a bold statement.
He argues that this company is supplying essential technology to major players like Tesla, Apple, Google.
They're working with all the big names.
And that they're at the forefront of developing next-generation AI chips.
So he's really going all in on this one.
He is, and it's worth noting that he also advises investors to steer clear of 3 specific stocks, arguing that they could be wiped out by the rise of X9840.
So he's not just picking winners, he's also identifying potential losers.
Exactly. It's like he's saying choose carefully, but also be aware of who might get left behind in this major shift.
So it's not just about specific companies then?
No, Altucher is presenting this larger narrative about the future of money technology and the possibility of disruption on a massive scale.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
And we're getting close to the end of our deep dive here.
Right.
So what are some key takeaways for our listeners to think about?
Well, first and foremost, it's crucial to approach Altucher's claims with a critical eye.
Don't just take everything at face value.
Exactly. While he makes some compelling arguments and has a history of accurate predictions, it's important to do your own research.
Right.
And consider your own risk tolerance.
Don't just blindly follow any investment advice, no matter how enthusiastically it's delivered.
Exactly. Remember, no investment is a sure thing.
For sure.
But even beyond specific investment recommendations, what about this broader concept of a financial revolution? That's where I think Altucher's perspective is most valuable.
Even if you don't buy into every detail of his predictions.
Right, he's prompting us to think about the potential for significant change in how we interact with money.
And the implications that could have for individuals, businesses, entire economies. So whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, this is a conversation worth having.
Absolutely.
The future of money is being shaped right now.
It is.
And understanding the forces at play is crucial. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time digging into James Altucher's predictions about X9840.
This whole financial revolution he sees coming with Elon Musk at the helm.
It's definitely a lot to wrap your head around.
It is a lot.
So I'm thinking, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about what all of this could actually mean for the average person.
Yeah, that's the important question, isn't it? I mean, Altucher really focuses on the investment side of things.
The whole how to make money angle.
Right. But it's crucial to zoom out a little.
Look at the bigger picture.
And think about the broader societal implications.
Like, what would it actually be like to live in a world where X is the main financial platform?
Exactly. That's the thought experiment I think is worth having.
I mean, on the one hand, you could imagine a much more streamlined financial system.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, picture sending money across borders instantly with almost no fees.
Right. Or managing all your finances from a single app that you already use anyway.
It could be incredibly empowering.
Especially for people who've been excluded from traditional banking.
But I'm also thinking about the potential downsides.
Right. There are always trade-offs.
What happens to consumer protections if the old banking regulations don't apply in this new landscape?
That's a good question.
And what about data privacy?
Yeah, that's a big one.
If all your financial activity is happening on one platform.
It raises some serious concerns for sure.
It seems like Altucher is so focused on the potential for profit and disruption.
Yeah.
That he doesn't really address these broader ethical considerations.
And that's where critical thinking comes in, I think.
Being able to look beyond hype.
Asking those tough questions.
Like, what are the unintended consequences? Who benefits? Who gets left behind?
Exactly. Those are conversations we need to be having as technology keeps advancing.
So even if we're not totally sold on Altucher's specific predictions,
right,
he's still raising some really important questions.
He is.
About the future of finance and the role of technology in our lives.
I think that's where the real value lies in this article.
It's not necessarily about being right or wrong.
It's about getting people to think critically about these issues.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Altucher's vision,
right,
I think the main takeaway is this.
Okay.
The future of finance is being written right now.
It's happening as we speak.
And it's up to all of us to be part of that conversation.
To shape the direction it takes.
Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out.
Or just someone who's curious about the world.
This is something that affects us all.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of finance.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
We hope this has given you some food for thought.
And maybe sparked some new ideas.
As always, keep exploring, questioning and engaging with the world around you.
That's what it's all about.
Until next time, happy diving. Happy diving.